Good day to you, partner. I'm keen, and I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Hey guys, Wheat Solo here, aka the Skeleton King. This is an emergency update. I'm making a video for the second day in a row because I made that video because I knew something was wrong and I didn't know what I wanted to fix, and I wanted the advice of my necro friends. I think the general consensus was just switch to Enigma, and that is fine, even if I have to drop FCR. It was kind of something I was prepared to do when I was thinking about the build. It's hard to get around the Replenish life. So, I mean, the other idea, of course, from certain stupid people like Topwood is just go back to Act 3. It's like, no, that's the whole point of this build now is we're done with Act 3, okay? Act 3 is the fucking past. We're on to the future, which is Act 1 and Act 2 with Zenith. And yes, the next build will be Act 1 Zenith. So what did I do? Well, Wheat Solo, in his infinite wisdom, had to even use random bad gear because I don't get anything. People call me the backseat gamer. These people give me trash, okay? Like 130, Rathma amulets. How is that good enough? So I had to fit in some stats, and I had a carry-on wind for some poison res. My poison res is very bad. Why? Because with Zenith, you get a salvation aura, okay? If anyone's wondering, yes, Salvation Aura buffs fire damage by less than Holy Fire. But here is the difference. When you have a Merc that has a flickering flame, it does more damage to add a Zenith than it does to add a Jin Slayer. Now, I don't think the Zenith has to be perfect, but I believe it has to be a 10 to do the same percent, and then an 11 or a 12 to actually give you 1 more percent. But what do you get from Zenith that you don't get from the Holy Fire or the Resist Fire Aura? Apologies. You just get resistances to everything else, which is actually really nice. In the last video, I didn't change my gear once. I just wanted to run this build because I wasn't thrilled with how it was working. Obviously, I knew some of my gear was part of the reason why it wasn't working optimally. And I should have actually spent longer trying to redo the gear myself because I'm the Skeleton King, okay? I'm the smart one. I come up with every good idea. These people are so stupid. They're like, use Enigma. I'm like, I already said that in the video, you guys. Like, can you give me anything else? And they're like, oh, I can't think of anything. I mean, these are the brightest that the Necro discussion has to offer. I'm talking about MCH. Landis is AWOL for right now. Knives didn't even have a comment, although I don't know if I asked him and I feel bad. Zura is AWOL. Topwood is just giving communistic rants, okay? I went, what about Replenish Life? And that was something I'd been thinking about the entire time. Is like, well, obviously, run a Prayer Act 3 Merc. But we're done with Act 3, okay? Although I do want to try Shattered Wall. I will give it this. My defense in this video is actually a bit higher, partly because I switched to the Steel Shade, and I want to experiment more with that, to lean more into higher defense, even though I'm not carrying a shield, because my defense is now well over 5,000, which feels way better than when it was 3,000. Trust me, if I can get it to like 6,000, it'll feel even better. What is the other thing Steel Shade has? It has a fairly high innate Replenish life stat. 30 to 48, I believe, and the one, or 30 to 44, and the one I'm using, I think, is 40, or has a 44 roll. I just know it's not perfect, but it's pretty high, so I throw 2 Dols in that bad boy, okay? And then what do I do with my chest? Throw 2 more Dols in that bad boy, okay? What do I do with my amulet, my piece of shit suck amulet, okay? It's just a declone amulet. I mean, a Rathma amulet. That this one isn't the 130, by the way. This is the one that rolled, I believe, all stats core, which is still a ridiculous corruption. I threw a Dol in that bad boy. Okay, so that's 5 Dols I put in my gear. That's 50 extra Replenish life. So I believe now if I have the Oak Sage, because yes, I put that on as well, which is what I was talking about. I should be running an Oak Sage. I just didn't want to drop cooldown from my Blood Warp. As you can see in this video, is it a big deal? Well, I do have a little bit more faster run walk, only 10, but every bit of faster run walk helps. Trust me, especially for an old man. But no. Would I play the build like this for an entire season? Probably not, unless all you're going to be doing with this character is mapping. Do you really need a 0 CD Blood Warp to map? No. As you can see, most maps have been designed to this point to where you don't really need to backtrack much. And if you do backtrack, it's pretty minimal. Do I think that's the right design? It is what it is. I kind of like maps having like a combination of the two, where routing is a little tougher, but you don't necessarily have to backtrack, but maybe you skip an area. I like those sort of decisions that you can give the player to make. Regardless, the decision making is we're not going to backtrack at all, which is fine. So with a build like this, you really don't need 0 Blood Warp. And if you're wondering about the playstyle when you don't cast Bone Armor and Cyclone Armor as much as I do, basically having like 3 or 4 points off, which is what Landis 3 and many people have suggested to run Fire Golems, even with 125 FCR, when I cast LR, my Blood Warp is back up. I also do micro movements, and that is just something I enjoy to do when I deal with latency. As you can see, my ping is hovering around 200 right now, or was it going to 200 and now it's 90? Okay, that's like 160. Now it's 60. So it was going anywhere between 60, which is fine, to the mid 200s, or sorry, the mid 100s to 200. And when it gets up that high, I like micro movements to not mess my buttons up together. And again, with that little bit of Blood Warp cooldown I have, it worked out fine. So now this build actually felt great, okay? And I'll come back to it. It'll get better. Skeleton King's the best. GG.
Come and play with us, Danny.